Clara Bennett placed her wedding ring beneath the pawnshop lamp and hid its trembling beneath the counter. Rosa turned the thin gold band with a pair of tweezers. Inside, the engraving was worn but still readable. "Always home, Ben and Clara." "How much do you need?" Rosa asked. $286. "For rent." "Medicine." Rosa looked through the glass storefront. Across the street, Clara's 10-year-old granddaughter sat on a bus bench, hugging a purple backpack to her chest. Lily believed they were waiting for the pharmacy to open. "This ring is worth more than what I can give you." "Not today, Clara. The prescription runs out tonight." Rosa stopped arguing. She counted bills slowly, as though giving Clara time to change her mind. Clara remembered Benjamin sliding the ring onto her finger 32 years earlier in a courthouse hallway. He had been wearing a borrowed jacket and a smile too large for his face. "As long as you wear it," he had whispered, "I'm still walking home with you." Benjamin had been gone 4 years. Clara closed her bare hand around the money. At the pharmacy, the cashier announced that Lily's medication had increased by $43. Clara returned bread, apples, soup, and the small chocolate cake Lily had been studying through the glass. "We don't need cake," Lily said quickly. Clara smiled. "Good. I was hoping you'd say that." She paid for the medicine. That night, Clara left Lily with their neighbor and took 2 buses to Mercer Health headquarters. The building's marble lobby reflected every light but none of the people who cleaned it. Travis Cole, her supervisor, met her beside the service elevator. "You're 22 minutes late." "The pharmacy." "I didn't ask." Clara removed her coat and tied on her apron. "I requested a payroll advance last week," she said. "Was it approved?" Travis laughed once. "This is a cleaning contract, not a charity." Clara stared until his smile disappeared. She kept her dignity. Then she pushed her cart into the elevator. Near midnight, she entered the top-floor office of Daniel Mercer, Billionaire CEO of Mercer Health. The room was usually empty, but tonight Daniel stood at the windows with his tie loosened and a stack of acquisition papers in his hands. Clara kept her eyes down. "Sorry, sir. I can come back." "No. I'm leaving." He gathered his papers, then paused beside a framed photograph Clara was dusting. It showed the opening day of a small neighborhood clinic nearly 30 years earlier. Clara's cloth stopped. In the back row stood a younger Benjamin holding a metal toolbox. Daniel noticed her expression. "You recognize someone?" Before Clara could answer, Travis appeared in the doorway. "Mrs. Bennett, hallway." "Now." Clara's face tightened, but she obeyed. As she lifted the trash bag from Daniel's bin, a folded pawn receipt slipped from her coat and landed beneath the desk. She did not see it. Daniel found it moments later. The paper described a gold wedding band engraved with 2 names, Ben and Clara Bennett. Daniel sat down. He opened a locked drawer and removed a sealed file from the Evelyn Mercer Community Clinic. His mother's handwriting covered the first page. "Find Benjamin Bennett." Daniel read the sentence twice. At dawn, he went to Alvarez Pawn. Rosa refused to discuss Clara until Daniel placed the clinic photograph on the counter. "That man," he said, pointing to Benjamin, "may have saved my life." Rosa studied him for a long moment. Then she took Clara's ring from a drawer behind the register. "I kept it off the display shelf," she said. "Some things should be given a chance to go home." Daniel paid for it. The next morning, Clara was buttoning Lily's school sweater when someone knocked. She opened the apartment door and forgot how to breathe. Daniel Mercer stood in the narrow hallway in an expensive dark coat. In one hand he held her wedding ring. In the other he held the old clinic photograph. He pointed to Benjamin's face. "Mrs. Bennett," he said, "why did my mother write your husband's name in the last letter she ever sent?" Clara stared at the ring in Daniel's palm. Behind her, Lily whispered, "Grandma, that's the man from the magazine." Daniel glanced past Clara. The apartment was clean but cramped. A folding table stood beside the kitchen sink. One chair had a cracked wooden back. A row of medicine bottles occupied the space where a fruit bowl might have been. Clara stepped into the hallway and pulled the door nearly closed. "How did you find me?" "The pawn shop owner. Rosa would never give a stranger my address." She didn't think I was a stranger. Clara's eyes moved to the photograph. Daniel held out the ring. This belongs to you. She did not take it. What did you pay? That doesn't matter. It matters to me. Daniel was not accustomed to hearing those words said so calmly. I'm not accepting charity, Clara continued. Tell me the amount and I'll repay you. You sold it for medicine. That still doesn't make it yours to give. A cough came from inside. Clara opened the door. Lily stood in the kitchen wearing one sock and holding the other. You can come in, she told Daniel. But the good chair wobbles. Clara almost smiled despite herself. Daniel sat in the chair with the cracked back. Lily climbed onto the opposite seat and studied him. Are you really a billionaire? Technically. Does that mean you have $1 billion in your house? No. Then where do you keep it? Clara set a cup of coffee in front of him. Lily. He noticed the refrigerator door covered with Lily's drawings and overdue notices, each bill held carefully beneath a bright magnet shaped like a smiling sun. What? I've never met one. Daniel's mouth moved into an unfamiliar smile. Clara noticed and looked away. He placed the ring on the table. I paid $320. You can repay it whenever you choose. $5 a week. Fine. Only then did Clara slide the ring back onto her finger. Her thumb covered the engraving. Daniel pointed toward Lily's medicine. Is she receiving specialist care? She receives what I can pay for. My company has assistance programs. Your company has forms? Clara said. Forms ask for pay stubs, tax records, custody papers, letters from doctors, and proof that a family is desperate enough. Then they expire before the next refill. Daniel looked at the bottle again. I can make a call. And what happens to the next grandmother who can't? The question landed harder than accusation. Clara picked up the clinic photograph. Ben worked there, she said. Maintenance, repairs, whatever needed doing. After the fire, he never spoke about that building unless he was asleep. What did he say? Names? Your mother's. Yours. Daniel leaned forward. He said he had failed her. My aunt told me everyone failed her. Clara studied him. Ben also kept a metal toolbox from the clinic. There was a false bottom. He told me never to open it unless Evelyn's boy came looking for the truth. Daniel's face lost its color. You knew who I was? I thought Evelyn's boy died in the fire. Daniel reached beneath his shirt and removed a small brass key hanging from a chain. My mother gave me this the week before she died. I've carried it ever since. Clara touched the edge of the photograph. Ben had the same key. Lily placed a drawing beside Daniel's coffee. It showed a small blue house and 3 people holding hands. That's me and Grandma, she explained. Who's the third person? I don't know yet. Maybe somebody who brings Grandma home when she gets too tired. Daniel looked toward Clara. She was rinsing his untouched cup even though he was still drinking from it. His phone rang. The name Catherine Mercer filled the screen. Daniel answered. His aunt did not greet him. The old clinic is being demolished this afternoon, she said. And whatever that cleaning woman told you, Benjamin Bennett was not the hero she thinks he was. Daniel stood. Clara had heard every word. She reached for her coat. Then we'd better get there before your aunt does. The Evelyn Mercer Community Clinic stood between a laundromat and an empty church, its windows boarded and its brick sign blackened by age. Daniel parked beside a demolition truck. Clara looked at the chained entrance. They came prepared. Daniel held up the brass key. So did we. The key did not fit the front door. Clara led him around the building, past a rusted fire escape and a row of dead utility meters. Ben hated main entrances, she said. Said important things usually happen near the back. The key opened a narrow service door. Inside, the air smelled of dust and old plaster. Their footsteps disturbed footprints left by no one. Daniel's breathing changed. For 1 second, the corridor disappeared. He was 11 again, crouched beneath a table while smoke rolled along the ceiling. A man's rough hands lifted him. Keep your face in my coat, Danny. Daniel grabbed the wall. Clara steadied his elbow. You remembered something. A voice. Ben's? I don't know. They followed faded maintenance labels written in Benjamin's block lettering, boiler, electrical, records. At the end of the hall, a steel door had been covered by shelving. Clara touched the frame. He built this. Daniel helped her move the shelves. Before they could open the door, voices echoed through the clinic. Catherine Mercer entered with 2 security officers, Marcus Reed and Travis Cole. Catherine's silver hair was perfectly arranged. Nothing else in the ruined building looked untouched. "Daniel," she said, "step away from that room. This building belonged to my mother. It belongs to Mercer Health." Clara faced her. "Then why are you demolishing it before anyone can inspect it?" Catherine looked at Clara as though she had spoken out of turn at a private dinner. "You must be Mrs. Bennett. You already knew that. I know you clean my nephew's offices." "Not yours," Clara said. "Your office takes longer." Marcus lowered his eyes to hide a reaction. Travis stepped forward. "Clara, you are trespassing on restricted property. Your employment is terminated." Her stomach tightened. Without her job she could miss rent. Missed rent could bring questions from the family court reviewing Lily's guardianship. Daniel turned on Travis. "Reinstate her." Clara raised one hand. "No." Daniel stared at her. She looked at Travis. "You said I entered restricted offices before. Say when." Travis glanced at Catherine. "Several occasions." "Dates?" "I don't have them here." "Then say it again while those security cameras record you." Travis followed her gaze to a camera above the corridor. His mouth closed. Clara stepped nearer. "You can fire me because you don't like me. You can fire me because your client told you to. But you will not call me a thief." The silence shifted. For the first time Travis looked smaller than she did. Clara knelt beside the steel door and felt beneath its lower hinge. Her fingers found a hidden latch. The door opened. A metal toolbox sat alone on a shelf. Her husband's name was painted across the lid. Ben Bennett. Clara's hand rested there for several seconds before she lifted it down. Inside were ordinary tools, each cleaned and arranged exactly as Benjamin had kept them. Beneath the wrench tray, Clara found a strip of cloth. She pulled it. A false panel rose. Under it lay a photograph, a hospital bracelet, a damaged inhaler, a ledger, a burned letter, and a cassette marked in blue ink. "For Daniel." Catherine moved quickly. "Those materials are company property." Clara shut the lid. "My husband's name is on the box. They came from this clinic. So did his damaged lungs." Daniel stepped between them. "She keeps it." Catherine's control cracked. "You have an acquisition vote in less than 2 hours. If this becomes a scandal, pensions will fall with the stock price. Thousands of employees could pay for your grief." Daniel looked at Marcus. "Is that possible?" Marcus answered carefully. "Yes." Catherine turned to Clara. "Heroes do not hide financial ledgers in walls. Benjamin took money from this clinic." Clara opened the ledger. Every line listed money going in, not coming out. Bennett family savings. Rent. Insulin. Children's antibiotics. Daniel found an old cassette player in a cabinet. His hand shook as he pressed play. Static filled the room. Then a woman's tired voice spoke from 28 years ago. "Daniel, if you are hearing this, Benjamin Bennett saved your life twice, and I am afraid Catherine will never forgive him for it." No one moved. The cassette clicked softly as Evelyn Mercer took a breath. "Daniel, you may remember Benjamin as the man who repaired the clinic. That is not the most important thing he fixed." Daniel lowered himself onto a dusty chair. Evelyn's voice continued. "When you were angry with me, you hid in the basement. Benjamin always found you. He never dragged you upstairs. He sat beside you until you were ready." Daniel remembered sitting on an overturned bucket, accusing Evelyn of loving patients more. Benjamin had replied, "She wants the world safer before you grow into it." On the tape, Evelyn described the fire. Daniel had run to the basement after she missed his school performance to treat a sick child. A faulty wire ignited the storage room, and the basement door warped shut. Benjamin broke through with a crowbar, wrapped Daniel in his coat, and carried him through the flames. He returned for 2 patients and Evelyn, but smoke damage ended the healthy life he had known. Daniel covered his mouth as the buried memory returned. Keep your face in my coat, Danny. Clara gripped the side of the toolbox. Benjamin had spent his final years breathing through pain. He had called it an old workplace injury and changed the subject whenever she asked. Evelyn's voice became weaker. The clinic was already in debt. Benjamin refused compensation. He said every dollar should go to the children's medicine cabinet. Daniel opened the ledger. Clara recognized the deposits. That was our house money, she whispered. For 11 years, she and Benjamin had saved for a small home with a garden. Then the account had mysteriously emptied. Ben claimed a contractor had cheated him. He lied to me. Her voice carried more hurt than anger. Daniel looked at her. He saved me with money that belonged to your family. Clara closed the ledger. He should have told me. Evelyn's recording continued. Benjamin believes Clara will forgive him. I am less certain she should. Clara gave a broken laugh through her tears. He knew me too well. Evelyn explained that the clinic would become a permanent charitable trust, jointly protected by the Mercer family and Benjamin. Its mission, not the family, would own it. When Catherine reached for the recorder, Daniel blocked her. Evelyn's voice warned him that Catherine's fierce love could harden into fear and that compassion had not caused the fire. The warning struck him. Daniel stared at his aunt. You heard this before. Catherine's eyes shone, but her posture remained straight. Yes. You let me believe my mother chose strangers over me. You woke screaming her name. You blamed yourself for hiding in the basement. I gave you something else to blame. The clinic. It was easier than watching you hate yourself. And the trust. Catherine looked around the ruined building. The clinic was bankrupt. Your mother was dead. Benjamin was ill. I had a frightened child to raise and a company to save. So you buried it. I protected what remained. Daniel struck the stop button. 4 years, Daniel had measured success by his distance from the clinic. Now that distance collapsed and he pressed both hands against the wall. I built everything on a lie. Clara followed but did not touch him. Then build the next thing on the truth. He turned. How do I repay what your husband gave me? You don't repay a dead man. What would he want? Clara removed Lily's medicine bottle from her coat pocket. 3 tablets rattled inside. He would want no grandmother to make the choice I made yesterday. Daniel looked at the bottle, then at the acquisition papers in Marcus's hands. What does the company we're buying make? Marcus hesitated. Neurological medicines. Including Lily's. Get me the pricing projections. Catherine's voice sharpened. Daniel, the vote begins in 40 minutes. Delay it. I cannot. You chair the board. And you are giving the board a reason to remove you. Marcus's phone chimed. He opened a confidential report and went still. What is it? Daniel asked. Marcus turned the screen toward him. The acquisition plan projected a 3-fold increase in Lily's medication price within 6 months. Internal analysts had also warned of regional shortages. Daniel looked at Catherine. Did you know? She did not answer. Another message appeared. Marcus read it aloud. The board secretary says the vote has been moved forward. They are assembling now. Daniel picked up the toolbox. Clara reached for her coat. Together they walked toward the exit. Behind them, Catherine said quietly, if you bring that recording into the boardroom, you may destroy everything your family built. Daniel did not turn around. My family built a clinic, he said. You built everything after it. The boardroom doors were made of clear glass, but everyone inside had learned how not to see the people who cleaned them. Clara entered carrying Benjamin's toolbox. Several directors recognized her uniform before they recognized her face. Catherine took her place at the head of the table. This meeting concerns the future of Mercer Health, she said. Not a private family tragedy. Daniel set the cassette recorder beside his chair. The two are connected. Catherine touched a remote. Clara's employee file appeared on the wall screen. Late rent notices. Medical debt. A pawn transaction. Documents from Lily's guardianship review. Clara felt the room tilt. These records are private, Marcus said. They are relevant, Catherine replied. Mrs. Bennett is financially distressed. She discovered a connection to Daniel's family and now claims ownership of a charitable trust. Daniel stood slowly. She sold her wedding ring to buy medicine manufactured by the company we plan to acquire. Catherine's expression did not change. A sad circumstance does not determine corporate policy. Clara placed both hands on the table. No, she said. People determine policy. They just stop thinking about who lives beneath the numbers. Catherine turned toward her. You were not invited to address the board. I have cleaned this room for 6 years. I have heard you discuss patients as markets, workers as costs, and medicine as leverage. I never interrupted. She held up the bottle. Yesterday I returned groceries so I could afford 30 pills. Your report says those pills will soon cost 3 times more. I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me. I am asking whether this is the business you believe your name should be attached to. For one moment no one spoke. Then Travis entered with 2 security officers. He pointed to the toolbox. That contains property stolen from a Mercer building. Marcus stood. Do you have evidence Mrs. Bennett removed anything unlawfully? She admitted entering the clinic. With the CEO. Travis looked toward Catherine. The glance was brief but Daniel saw it. Catherine addressed Clara. If you leave now and surrender those materials, I will ensure no criminal complaint is filed. If you continue, your employment history and financial condition may become relevant to the court reviewing your granddaughter's placement. Clara's fingers tightened around the toolbox handle. Daniel stepped between them. You threaten a child again and I will release the recording before this meeting ends. He reached for the cassette. Clara stopped his hand. Not yet. Daniel stared at her. Catherine smiled faintly, believing Clara had broken. Clara lifted the recorder and carried it to Catherine. Gasps moved around the table. You were right about one thing, Clara said. This cannot become only a family tragedy. She placed the cassette before Catherine. If Daniel plays it now, you will end the meeting. You will call lawyers, close ranks, and make the story about a dead woman and a burned building. Clara, Daniel said, what are you doing? She leaned close enough that only he could hear. Do not save my name and lose the truth. Then she turned and walked through the glass doors. The vote began behind her. In the elevator her phone rang. It was Lily's school. The nurse spoke too quickly. Lily had collapsed during class. The seizure had continued after the emergency medication was given. Clara ran from the building before the elevator doors fully opened. At the hospital, urgent hands surrounded Lily's small body. A doctor met Clara outside the treatment room. Her blood level is too low. Has she missed doses? Never. The doctor examined the bottle. This quantity is short. The pharmacy said it was all they had. There have been distribution shortages. Clara pressed both hands to the glass. Inside, Lily's arm jerked against the sheet. Back in the boardroom, Daniel's phone vibrated. Clara's message contained 4 words. They cannot stop it. The board secretary cleared his throat. The acquisition vote stood at 6 in favor and 6 against. Catherine folded her hands. The deciding vote belongs to the chief executive. Daniel looked at the pricing report. He looked at the cassette. He imagined Lily fighting for breath while 12 people discussed market share. Catherine spoke softly. If you reject the deal without complete evidence, lenders can withdraw. The stock will fall. Employees may lose their pensions. You may lose this company before you can change anything. Still, he knew that approving the deal would make every later promise a lie. The secretary asked, Mr. Mercer, how do you vote? Daniel closed his eyes. He heard Benjamin's voice through smoke. Keep your face in my coat, Danny. Then Clara's. Guilt is useless unless it becomes responsibility. Daniel opened his eyes. I vote no. Catherine went pale. And because the agreement requires certification from the active chief executive, Daniel continued, I resign as CEO, effective immediately. The boardroom erupted. Daniel walked out before anyone could stop him. For the first time in his life, he left the company without knowing whether he would ever be allowed back. Daniel arrived at the hospital without his driver, his assistants, or the security team that usually moved ahead of him. Clara sat outside Lily's room with her coat still buttoned. Her wedding ring was in one hand and the medicine bottle in the other. "How is she?" Daniel asked. "The seizure stopped. They don't know what damage it caused." He sat beside her. "You resigned. You heard? It is already on every television." A reporter on the waiting room screen stood outside Mercer Health headquarters beneath the words "Billionaire CEO walks out." Clara switched it off. "You may have lost your company." Daniel looked through the glass at Lily. "Your husband carried me out of a fire. You carried the truth into that boardroom. Losing a title is not the largest thing that happened today." The neurologist emerged an hour later. Lily was stable. She would need observation, more testing, and reliable access to the medication that had become difficult to obtain. Daniel asked the hospital administrator to place Lily with the best specialist available. Clara shook her head. "No special room. No patient moved because you came." Daniel nodded. "Then find the specialist without moving anyone." It was the first time Clara accepted his help without feeling smaller. Near midnight, Marcus arrived with a box of copied records. He had spent hours inside the county archives and Mercer Health's legal database. "The Evelyn Mercer Trust was never legally dissolved," he said. "It was transferred." "To whom?" Clara asked. "Mercer Health." Marcus opened a document bearing Benjamin Bennett's signature. Clara looked at it once. "That is not Ben's writing." "The date is 6 months after the fire," Marcus said. "Hospital records show his right hand was immobilized then." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Who authorized the transfer?" "Catherine." More evidence followed. Internal pharmacy warnings predicted shortages. Executives were told that smaller distributors would lose access after the acquisition. Catherine had marked the report non-material. Marcus also played a recorded statement from Travis. Catherine had ordered him to document Clara as a security risk. In exchange, she promised to renew his company's cleaning contract. "He wants immunity," Daniel said. "He wants to save himself," Marcus replied. Clara looked through the glass at Lily. "Then let him save himself by telling the whole truth. Protect the cleaners who had no part in it." Daniel studied her. "You were fired, threatened, and humiliated, and you are protecting their jobs. I know what happens when powerful people punish a whole floor because one person gave an order." The next afternoon, Catherine requested a meeting. She entered the hospital family room carrying no lawyer and no visible emotion. On the table, she placed a settlement agreement. The number at the top was large enough to erase Clara's debts, purchase a home, and fund Lily's treatment for life. "All you must do," Catherine said, "is surrender any claim to the trust and state that Daniel misinterpreted the clinic records." Clara read the first page. "You forged my husband's name. I preserved a company that now employs 30,000 people. You threatened my granddaughter. I reminded you what instability can cost." Catherine's voice softened. "You have one responsibility, Mrs. Bennett. That child. Not Daniel's conscience. Not my sister's memory. Not strangers who will never know your name." Clara looked at the number again. For one dangerous moment, she imagined a small house. A garden. A refrigerator filled without counting every item. Medicine lined up for years. She carried the agreement to Lily's room. Lily was awake, pale, and exhausted. Clara explained only what a child needed to understand. "This money could make sure you always have your medicine," she said. "But it means I stop fighting for the clinic." Lily touched Clara's ring. "What about the other kids?" Clara swallowed. "Someone else might help them." "Did Grandpa wait for someone else?" The question opened the room. Lily looked at the medicine bottle. "Grandpa wouldn't want me to be the only kid who gets one." Clara kissed her forehead. When Catherine returned, Clara slid the unsigned agreement across the table. "No." Catherine's face hardened. "Then tomorrow's board hearing may leave you with nothing." Clara stood. "I sold the ring once. I will not sell what it means." That evening, former clinic workers began contacting Marcus after seeing Daniel's resignation on the news. A retired nurse had payroll books. A pharmacist had old trust letters. Rosa agreed to testify about the ring. Hope moved quietly, one witness at a time. At sunrise, Clara entered the emergency board hearing beside Daniel and Marcus. Catherine placed Evelyn's cassette on the table. "There is a final section," she said. "Before you make me the villain, Daniel, you should hear what your mother asked me to do." Catherine pressed play. Evelyn's voice returned, thinner than before. "Catherine, if I do not survive, protect Daniel. You will be angry. You will believe I abandoned him. Stay when he pushes you away." Catherine looked at Daniel. "I stayed." On the tape, Evelyn continued. "But do not confuse protecting him with controlling him. Fear can wear the face of love for so long that even the person feeling it forgets the difference." Catherine's hand trembled. "Keep the clinic open," Evelyn said. "Teach Daniel that our name means service, or one day our money will own us." The cassette ended. No one spoke until Daniel stood. "You raised me," he told Catherine. "You stayed through nightmares, funerals, schools, and every birthday my mother missed. I will always be grateful." Catherine's eyes filled. "But gratitude is not permission," he continued. "You protected me as a child. Then you kept me a child whenever the truth threatened your control." Catherine looked toward the directors. "I made decisions that preserved this company." Marcus distributed the forged trust transfer and the suppressed shortage reports. "You made decisions that preserved your authority," he said. Clara was invited to testify. She did not begin with the fire. She placed her empty medicine bottle on the boardroom table. "I sold my wedding ring because my granddaughter needed what was inside this bottle," she said. "I am not the first person who has sold something precious for medicine. I was only connected to someone powerful enough to make you notice." She opened Benjamin's ledger. "My husband gave away our savings without telling me. I was angry when I learned that. Love does not make every choice correct." Several directors looked toward Catherine. "But Ben's mistake cost our family a house. Your choices cost families their health." The retired nurse confirmed Evelyn's trust instructions. The pharmacist authenticated the warning reports. Rosa described how Clara had asked for exactly enough money to purchase the prescription and not $1 more. Travis appeared by video. He admitted creating false security allegations under Catherine's direction. The board voted to remove Catherine as chairwoman and refer the financial records to independent investigators. For the first time, Catherine sat at the table without controlling what happened next. Catherine removed the chairwoman's pin from her jacket and placed it beside Evelyn's cassette. Briefly, she looked less like the woman who had ruled Mercer Health and more like the frightened sister who had stood outside a burning clinic. Clara understood her grief, but understanding did not require silence. Daniel moved the cassette toward Catherine. "Keep it," he said. "Listen until you hear the part where love stops being an excuse." Catherine lowered her eyes. The board asked Daniel to return as interim chief executive. He refused until 6 resolutions were written into the minutes. The acquisition would be abandoned, medication prices reduced, the trust repaid, the clinic restored, hourly employees protected, and patients given seats on a permanent oversight council. The resolutions passed. Clara was named successor trustee and community director. Daniel lifted her ring from a small box. In front of the board, he placed it in her hand. "Benjamin carried me out of a burning building," he said. "You carried me out of a life built on misunderstanding." Clara closed her fingers around the ring. "Then do not waste the second rescue." At the hospital, Lily woke as they entered. "Did Grandma win?" she asked Daniel. Clara sat beside her. "No one wins when a child has to get sick before adults do the right thing." Lily considered this. But they listened? They finally listened. Lily reached beneath her pillow and removed the drawing of the blue house. She had added a name under the third figure. "Daniel." He stared at it. "Is that still the person who brings your grandmother home when she gets tired?" Lily shook her head. "No. Grandma can bring herself home." Daniel smiled. "Then who is he?" Lily held out her hand. "Family if he wants to be." Daniel took it carefully. Clara watched the billionaire lower his head beside a hospital bed and cry without trying to hide it. 1 year later, sunlight filled the waiting room of the Evelyn Mercer, Benjamin Bennett Community Health Center. The old clinic sign had been restored above the entrance. Beneath it, A new bronze plaque carried two names in equal-sized letters. Inside, a photograph showed Evelyn in a white coat and Benjamin in work clothes, standing together beside a cabinet of medicine. Clara stopped beneath it every morning. She was now the center's community director. Her office had a door, but she rarely closed it. That morning she found a spill near the children's waiting area and picked up a mop. A new employee hurried toward her. "Mrs. Bennett, someone else can do that." Clara handed him the bucket. "Good. Then help me." Leadership, she often said, did not make necessary work smaller. Lily's seizures were controlled. She had grown taller and painted a mural across the pediatric wing, hands passing a small golden light from one person to another. Rosa claimed the light looked suspiciously like a wedding ring. Daniel remained CEO of Mercer Health, though the company no longer worked as it had before. Medication prices were published openly. Patients sat on the oversight council. Hourly employees could request emergency assistance without asking a supervisor for permission. The fun was called Always Home. Daniel ate dinner at Clara's apartment every Sunday. He could have purchased her a mansion, but Clara accepted only a modest salary repayment from the restored trust, and a safe home she selected herself. It had a small garden. On the first Sunday after they moved, Daniel arrived with a toolbox. Lily examined it. "Do billionaires know how to fix sinks? This one does not." Clara handed him a wrench. Then it is time he learned. Catherine resigned and faced investigation. Clara visited once, refusing to confuse forgiveness with escape from consequences. Weeks later, Catherine surrendered records investigators had missed. It did not redeem her, but it marked her first honest choice made without power protecting her. At the clinic's opening ceremony, Daniel stood before employees, patients, and families. He did not speak about market growth. He spoke about Benjamin. "The man who saved my life never became wealthy," Daniel said. "He never received a building with his name on it. He repaired broken doors, bought medicine for strangers, and went home to a wife who deserved the truth about what he sacrificed." Clara's eyes filled. "Today," Daniel continued, "we honor him best by making sure quiet acts of goodness do not remain invisible." After the ceremony, Clara visited Benjamin's grave. She wore the ring. Lily placed her drawing beside the headstone. The picture now showed four figures: Clara, Lily, Daniel, and Benjamin beneath a yellow sky. Daniel waited several steps away. Clara touched the engraved band. "Lily is safe," she whispered. "The clinic is open." And Evelyn's boy finally came looking. The wind moved through the grass. For years the ring had represented the life Clara lost. Now it carried everything Benjamin's love had continued to build. Months later, during the clinic's first anniversary, Clara noticed an elderly woman at the pharmacy desk. Beside her stood a frightened little boy. The pharmacist explained the cost of the child's prescription. The woman looked down at her hand. Slowly she began removing her wedding ring. Clara crossed the room. She closed the woman's fingers around it. "You keep that," Clara said. The woman looked up. "But the medicine is already covered." Across the waiting room, Daniel watched in silence. Lily slipped her hand into his. The grandmother began to cry, not from shame but from relief. Once, Clara had been forced to choose between the symbol of a lifetime of love and one more bottle of medicine. She had believed selling the ring was the end of something sacred. Instead, it became the beginning of a promise. No child would be reduced to a price. No worker would have to beg to be seen. No family would be told that dignity was too expensive. The hardest question had never been whether Clara should have sold her wedding ring. It was why a good woman had ever been forced to sell it at all.